9th of November 2024 at 6:53 p.m. here in Portland, Oregon, United States of America. Welcome once again to our Cosmic Journey, the Dev Design Podcast, showcasing how two guys with black shirts made the world's best astrology software. I am your designer, Jake. He is your engineer, Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
We're starting a little bit late and we're in Portland. We just got here about an hour ago. And the reason why is because we have traveled down specifically for a special guest because we do this for you, dear viewer. We make sure that you that you get the quality content necessary in order to
we came
um,
we came down to Portland specifically for this
specifically
interview.
for this guest. It is episode 60. We do things that are special in episode 60. The first time we had a guest was in episode 50. You can see it up there. Let's take a look at who our guest is in episode 60. I would like to welcome Ms. Heather Freeman. Yay!
Hi, Jake. Hi,
Yay!
Trey.
Hello,
Hi.
Heather.
Oh, when you said hi, when you waved like this, it was over both of our heads.
Yeah.
I meant to do that.
You're like, no, it's a Jake and a Trey. No.
Yeah, patter circles, Heather.
Wait, let's see. Lower.
Amazing.
Heather Freeman is the presenter and host of Magic of the United States, which premieres its third season on November 12th. Thank you for joining us, Heather, and our many, many ones of viewers here that have no idea who you are or what you do. Heather, tell us a little bit about how the journey has been from season one through season two, and now you're starting season three. How's it been going for you?
It's good. We are wrapping up the very last episode of the last season, and it's been a real gift getting to work on this podcast. And all the folks at PRX have been absolutely amazing. And I'm particularly excited about one particular episode that's going to come out this season.
As am I. Do we
Uh,
want to do we want to just let's just say that episode, I think four,
I think
three.
that's right.
I think it's
Four, correct. It's four, episode four.
I think episode four for the dear viewer is going to be extra special, at least for these two numbnuts here. Trey, what how did you, I mean, so Trey and I obviously are going to be premiering on episode four. Trey, how did you feel about doing that episode?
Magic in the United States, I think, just does such a good job of kind of, like covering each of the topics that each episode is based on, just in a really deep and rich way, even though like each episode is relatively short. And yeah, it's just, I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yes, I agree. It is a tech and design podcast, so we are going to talk to you not about the podcast and not necessarily about the episode, but about tech and design things, if you don't mind, Heather.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, I know that you also were the artist and creator, I guess, creative director for Mosaic, which you can find
Oh
at
yeah.
mosaicdivination.com. And I know you did a lot of the illustration work. Could you talk a little bit about your process of like why you chose the, I guess I would say sigils that you did, and what was your inspiration behind that?
Sure. I love first that Trey was like, "Oh yeah, that thing."
There was another there was another person you did that with, which I believe is Mr. Trey Henry, who's over there. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, for the
Yeah,
for the viewer who doesn't know, that's like a digital divination system that Heather and I collaborated on.
it was. Yeah, that was super fun. I mean, it was funny because when Trey first asked me or was talking to me about it, he asked me if I knew any former art students who might be interested in this, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm doing it. I want to do this." I think one of the things that was really fun about that process is that it was collaborative in terms of how we um, talked about like what were the different sigils and icons going to be, the anchor, the coyote, all these things. And it really, a lot of the imagery is very anchored in sort of Americana. And I didn't really think about that as being a particularly Americana um, set of imagery until I started working on Magic in the United States, actually. And the other thing that's super cool about it to me is that it's natively digital. So as you shuffle it, it has these elemental correspondences of, fire, water, air, earth, and the foreground and background images randomly are assigned different elements. So that to me, like this idea of leveraging digital technologies um, for their own capabilities, not just as mirrors of analog technologies, not just as like another tarot deck, but something where you can really lean in and see what can we do digitally that we could not do in the physical world. That was so exciting to me about working on this project. So,
And I
and
know that.
our last episode is all about digitech and magic. So,
Ah, very good. Look at you plugging away your third season. You're quite the professional. Yes, I think we did take a lot of inspiration from these purely digital spaces, and that's really what is also driving the aesthetic and interactions with Cosmic as well. So
mhm.
good on you for inspiring us as well on that stuff. And going back to Magic the United States, I know that you're not specifically doing things like the sound design, but you have folks that are helping you with stuff like creating soundscapes. But as like the creative director of the the way in which we feel, you tell story with words and with sound. Tell me a little bit about how that's been, because I know that I would have approached that problem very differently because it feels like a whole different space of design. How did you approach it?
Well, thanks for appreciating that first. I love sound design as an artist. I think it's such a magical kind of space to work in creatively. But the sound design for Magic in the US is done by Jenny Cataldo, who's absolutely astounding and amazing. And uh, yeah, props to Jenny.
Oh,
And
Jenny.
go Jenny. And one of the things that has been really great about this process is we'll sort of leave notes for Jenny about like maybe we have like farm sounds and horses and carriages here, and maybe synth wavy music here, which comes up for cosmic plumbing, of course. And I think and I think like Jenny really has taken those cues and totally run with them. And there's times when it's like, okay, no, the sound design is too much. We actually need to scale it back. But really, by the end of season one, we had such a good rhythm as a team, figuring out the balance between ambient sounds and sound effects and music. And it's just every time we get a first draft mix from Jenny, it's like a birthday, opening this present. It's like, oh, it's magical.
It's good to know that when me and Trey are on a podcast episode, that the sound designer should just get the note synthwave gay and just be like, just go with that for the sound design, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Um, so I know that Trey was very interested in talking to you a little bit about some tech, especially when it starts to come around magical practices. Trey, do you want to ask some questions around that?
Yeah, I'm curious about how you, sort of your because we've also for the viewer, we have collaborated on game jams, and I know you've done several game jams before, and you teach digital design and things like this, and I'm just curious, like, what sort of what things do you think are kind of like cool and interesting that are sort of in the that are emerging right now? I mean, obviously we have generative AI and things like
Mhm.
this, and I know you've done a lot of work with that, and you've talked about that at multiple conferences. You did an amazing talk about that at a culture in
Oh,
Berlin,
thanks.
which I was able to attend. And so, yeah, so I'm just curious about like, sort of like what kind of cool things are happening sort of like in the digital milieu right now that you're excited about, like where you think things are going that might be kind of cool and interesting. Is there anything that you're thinking about, sort of after maybe some of the project work settles down for like new projects that are coming up, and just, yeah, anything you'd like to talk about new tech, basically.
Oh, yeah. No, I think, generative AI is such a fascinating topic, and I think there's creative potentials in it, just both in terms of tech, and also image and sound, of course, too, and video increasingly. But I think one of the things that's really interesting to me about generative AI is how it um, kind of forces us to engage with questions of ethics as magical practitioners in a way that I just think we haven't been presented with before. So, thinking about the material costs involved in having a magical practice, whether that's the power needed to the energy needed to power a CPU, or natural resources like harvesting frankincense, right? These are elephants in the room for many magical practitioners, and I think the ethical challenges of generative AI are right there on the surface, and that's actually really fantastic to just dive into those questions and make decisions, that are you base on your values. So that's one thing. Honestly, like I am so okay. I'm gonna plug your guys's project because I am so pumped about Cosmic. I am so pumped about this. And one of the things that I have absolutely loved and I've found personally just really deeply inspiring is this weekly video podcast. Um, watching watching how the sausage is made, that's part of it for sure. But also like listening to how you are problem solving things and how you are setting your values as designers and engineers. I find that as both an artist and a magical practitioner, I take something away from that every week and I just
Mm.
love it. So yeah.
Oh, very
Yay.
sweet of you. Thank you.
And so I'm just curious, like, what your current sort of like go-to or favorite or maybe most unique or interesting divination system that you're currently interested in or using, or maybe even one that you want to learn.
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. So many. Um, so I think what'll because I'd have to think maybe too long about some possibilities with them. So I'll just say the one that I've been kind of working on the most, um, yeah, the one that I've been doing the most lately is geomancy, and, I
Yeah.
use yeah, georadio, and, I got these beautiful I'll just tell you about the how I do cast a chart. Shout out to my friend in Canada who mailed me these beautiful flat river stones,
Oh,
and they have different shades, and they were basically like, just put dots on them, and there you go, and they have been amazing and learning. I've tried doing a little bit with geomancy in the past, but I sort of stopped because I realized, oh, I kind of need to know astrology better. Um, and so geomancy and astrology are kind of going hand in hand for me at this juncture. But it's been so fantastic, just like tossing these four little stones that have these elemental correspondences and just throwing out charts every morning. So that's the one that I've been doing the most, but there's so many amazing systems, runes, um, Oracle decks. Actually, I'm more and more interested in them. I used to be pretty hardcore just Waitsmith. And now I'm just like, you know what? Anybody can make a divination system. You and I have talked about this before, Trey, that
yeah,
people should really just have fun, make a divination system, try it out. There's a lot you can learn from that. And
yeah.
I'm kind of pumped about doing more of that actually once the podcast is done.
So this
Nice.
goes to my not check-in question, but for episode 60, a check-out question. Things have to come to an end. You don't want to start new projects, and we need to finish up our projects. What besides finishing up here episode three, or sorry, season three, excuse me, of Magic of the United States, which premieres on Tuesday, what do you feel like you also will be finishing up to start something anew? We'll start with Heather on this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I have a stack of astrology books from the astrology episode that I'm like I just cannot wait to just dive into them, write in them, and horrify the book nerds in my life, and just get really, really deeply into that. And I think that will feel like an ending, but I think that's probably going to be the beginning to whatever the next project is going to be.
Nice. I am 100% with you, not treating books as precious things, but as pieces of paper that you also are trying to figure out your understanding. And so you're mapping things while you're reading books. I know it also horrifies Trey, but that's okay. They're my books.
I
They're not
hate it.
his.
Saturn.
Yeah, it must be
Yeah,
some like strong Saturn placement thing.
must be. Mr. Henry, what are you looking forward to kind of wrapping up and moving into something new? And don't say cosmic because we're not close.
No, I know. It's yeah, that's no, I would never. Uh I think one thing that has been that I've been making a lot of doing some research on special thanks to Jake Zukowski for finding books at the library for me on this topic, which is sort of dealing with my lifelong ADHD, but my like the adult sort of how that manifests for me, and like being able to sort of work on the things that can be worked on, and minimize the amount of, I want to say burden, but like the amount of stuff because of it that falls on other people. And so I've been reading a lot of books, and so yeah, and it's been good. It's been a really good journey. I think that mental health is one of those things that the more we talk about it, and the more that people are just like willing to be open about this sort of stuff, the less stigmatized it is. And so, yeah, so very specifically to answer the question, there's like a book which was checked out from the library, and it needs to go back pretty soon. And so I really want to try to get through that book pretty quickly, and be able to return that to the library, and yeah, and sort of at least kind of um, taking this current chapter of sort of like working on the ADHD stuff, and yeah, and taking what I've learned and putting them to good use.
I love that. For me, I've been spending a whole lot of time making use of my brain for OOUX, which I've talked about many, many times in this podcast. Heather Freeman's also a big fan. Now, how do we figure out how OOUX can be a divination system? That to me is the most important thing for, and if Sophia Prater is watching this episode right now, she is into it as well. I guarantee you.
Yes.
So let's figure
Hi,
out how to.
Sophia.
Hi, Sophia, if you're here right now, I am
Hey,
all about
fan.
all about thinking about that. Um, but now that I've kind of learned the fundamentals and the theory of this, I'm looking forward to obviously just doing the practice and maybe applying it to other things in my life, certainly the company, but also to the games that I have developed in the past. And so, can we bring back some games? Can we bring out some game shows? I miss game shows dearly. We were listening. Poor Heather had to listen to an episode of, to say the least, from 2011, or I think it was 2010 actually, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So, how
That's
do we
great.
bring that back in a way? Heather Freeman, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Magic of the United States season 3 premieres on Tuesday, November 12th. Episode 4 is going to be pretty amazing. Heather, you're wonderful, and we love you. Thank you.
Jake and Trey, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored.
Of
Yeah.
course. And to our, thank you, Heather, and to our lovely,
you cut her off while she was making a heart at us.
bye, Saturn. Unfortunately, we can't hear her right now either. We put her on mute forever. To the beautiful viewer out there, thank you so much for watching. We love you. Thank you for sharing the Saturday with us, whatever day that you have watched this program. Be well, take care. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.